How about them Dolphins, baby? What is going on, guys? Thank you so much for stopping back by on the channel to check out our post-game review of the Dolphins at San Francisco 49ers. And as you, if you couldn't tell already, this was a solid game. I don't know if you guys are having a bad day or whatever, but I hope this picked you up because this game was an absolute domination. 43-17. The Miami Dolphins absolutely handled the 49ers from start to finish. This was a dominant performance. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure this showed at the end of the game. The Dolphins put up the most points at Santa Clara against the 49ers in the history of them playing there. So this was an insane win. So good, guys. I mean, it was such a breath of fresh air. I was really not expecting it. And, they proved me wrong. If you guys watched my video, the pregame video that I had put out for you guys, I was really expecting this to be a different outcome. I was expecting the Dolphins to lose this game. I was expecting it to be close. But, oh, man, guys, the Dolphins proved me so wrong, and I am so happy about it. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the stats. I'm also going to give my own personal analysis on what I saw on the field. We'll talk about the good, we will talk about the bad, and then guys, also feel free to leave your comments, thoughts, opinions, concerns, all that stuff in the comments section down below. And also guys, if you have not already, definitely feel free to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon as well for notifications so you can be kept up to date with all the videos that we have coming out about the Miami Dolphins. And yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the stats, and we will go ahead and start with San Francisco. So starting off, guys, like I said in the pregame show, Jimmy Garoppolo did get the start today coming off of that ankle injury, and it absolutely showed that he was sore. He just didn't seem quite himself, wasn't able to push off his back foot when he was getting throws out, wasn't really operating in that pocket very well at all, having a hard time stepping up. And because of that, guys, the Dolphins had so much pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo all day long. His stats, he was 7 for 17, 77 yards for 4.5 yards per carry, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a rating of 15.7. Absolutely dominant from the Miami Dolphins defense. That was so impressive how they got after him in the pocket. Now, after the first half, it was pretty clear that Jimmy was hurting. He wasn't quite himself. He just really wasn't comfortable in the pocket and getting passes out. So they threw C.J. Beathard in, and he went 9 of 18 for 94 yards, 5.2 yard average, and 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and an 84 rating. So, guys, if I could say anything about this game, I knew that the Dolphins offense would be able to take advantage of that depleted secondary that San Francisco has right now, but I really was not expecting the defensive outing that we had. I mean, we absolutely dominated in every facility. Let's go ahead and look at rushing. Raheem Mostert, 11 carries for 90 yards. 8.2 yards per carry. He was definitely having a pretty decent game, but only carried the ball 11 times, so nothing crazy there. Jeff Wilson Jr., 4 carries for 27 yards. He had Kyle Juszczyk, a couple carries for 11 yards and a touchdown. And then the rest, nothing to talk about there. Receiving for San Francisco, you've got Brandon Ayuk, 3 catches for 44 yards. You got George Kittle, 4 catches for 44 yards. Kendrick Bourne, 2 catches, 30 yards. He also had that touchdown later in the game. And then you got Raheem Mostert, Deebo Samuel, really kind of a quiet day offensively for San Francisco, and that is all thanks to Miami's defensive performance today. Let's see, fumbles for San Francisco. C.J. Beathard did have a fumble, which he lost on a beautiful sack by Emmanuel Ogbah late in the game. This was absolutely such a good day defensively, getting in the quarterback's face, Emmanuel Ogbah with a sack. We'll get into the defensive stuff for Miami in a little bit, but Jimmy Garoppolo also did have a sack. This was Andrew Van Ginkel, if I'm not mistaken, coming in from his blind side, absolutely blasted him, but San Francisco was able to keep the ball. So all that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at San Francisco's defensive performance. Nothing too crazy to talk about. We did have Quan Alexander with a sack on the day. Also, we've got Kerry Hyder Jr. with a sack a little bit later on in the game. Nothing too crazy. No interceptions, no fumbles, if I'm mistaken, from Miami. Honestly, guys, it was such a well-rounded game for the Miami offense. They really stuck it to San Francisco's defense in every way possible. The rushing game wasn't the best, but we absolutely just handed them their butts through the air. So there really wasn't a ton of opportunity for really anybody to make too big of an impact defensively. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to Miami's game. So starting off through the air, Ryan Fitzpatrick, 22 of 28, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, 154.5 passer rating. Absolutely amazing game. Ryan Fitzpatrick dominated. We've got Myles Gaskin, 16 carries, 57 yards, 1 touchdown. Matt Breida, 9 carries, 28 yards. Now, I did predict in the pregame video that he might have a really, really big game. I was wrong. Not the most explosive day from Breida, which I was potentially expecting there. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick, 3 rush attempts for 16 yards. Lynn Bowden Jr. a few times in the Wildcat trying to make some stuff happen. Only 4 yards, and then the rest is nothing special. All right, moving on to Miami's receiving game. This was a really, really nice day for a couple of guys at the very top of the pack here. Preston Williams absolutely balled out today. 4 catches, 106 yards, 1 touchdown on 5 targets. He also had a 47-yard grab, the very first play of the game for the Miami Dolphins offensively. Absolutely attacked Brian Allen. You got Mike Gesicki with another really good day, 5 catches for 91 yards. Devontae Parker started out a little hot, didn't see too much of him a little bit later on, but he did have 2 catches for 50 yards, 1 touchdown, and you got Myles Gaskin active in the passing game as well, 5 catches, 34 yards. You got Matt Breida, Isaiah Ford, each grabbing a couple of catches, and then the rest is nothing too crazy there. Now, moving on defensively. Obviously, guys, the offense was extremely impressive, but the reason, in my opinion, why they were so fantastic is because the defense put them on the field as much as possible. Absolutely, the defense came out and took San Francisco's time with the ball away. They absolutely, it was 3 and outs, it was punting, it was turnover on downs, interceptions. It was a phenomenal day defensively for Miami, and they really kept the offense on the field as long as possible, and that, I think, is the main reason why this offense was able to control the game as much as possible. So let's take a look at Miami defensively. So defensively, we've got Jerome Baker with the sack. We've got Andrew Van Ginkel with the sack, like I said earlier, coming in on Jimmy Garoppolo's blind side. We've got Emmanuel Ogbah with the sack, and he had a phenomenal day, guys. Emmanuel Ogbah was constantly in Jimmy G's face, constantly in CJ Beathard's face. He did have 1 batted pass. He had that sack. He was active in the running game. Emmanuel Ogbah's earning his money. The last couple of games that he's been playing, he has been absolutely killing the game. Really, really, really happy to see what Emmanuel Ogbah's been doing. We also have Zach Seiler coming in for his first official sack in the NFL. He did have that half a sack a couple of games ago, or maybe that was last game. Let me know in the comments. I'm trying to think. But his first whole sack on his own in the NFL, really good stuff from him. And then Landon Roberts also came blasting through on 1 play for a sack. We had just such a good day. We dominated the line of scrimmage defensively, and that's something that it was really, really lacking through the first 4 games of this season. There was just no pass rush. There was no pressure on the quarterback, and we just completely flipped the script today and absolutely showed out. We had 5 total quarterback sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 7 passes defensed, and 8 total quarterback hits. This was just a dominant outing from Miami's defensive line, and it was phenomenal to see. Looking on past the defensive line, we had a couple of interceptions. We had Bobby McCain coming down with a really nice pick, kind of just ran 45 degrees straight at the ball. Pretty easy pick for him. And then Xavier Howard a little bit later in the game. This was Jimmy G kind of on the last legs of his game here today. Really kind of just not locating the ball where he needed to, and wound up just really overthrowing this ball because he wasn't stepping off that back foot. Like I said, he was definitely hurting, so overthrew his receiver by quite a bit, and Xavier Howard came down with his 3rd interception of the year on a pretty easy one. So guys, defensively, offensively, coaching-wise, everything in this game came together and was absolutely phenomenal for Miami. We played such a clean, solid game from the very beginning all the way to the very end. We started the game, and this is something that I've really been stressing over the last few videos, and I know that you guys have heard this a bunch of different times. We have to establish the pace of the game offensively and defensively, and we did that, I mean, right out of the gate. The first possession offensively was that throw to Preston Williams for 47 yards against Brian Allen, and then the first drive from San Francisco's offense wound up in a 3-and-out. So guys, it was just absolutely fantastic the way that we set and established the pace of the game on both sides of the ball, dominated at the line of scrimmage, and absolutely handled the San Francisco 49ers. Guys, it was just such a complete turnaround, 180 from what we had been doing the first 4 weeks through this season. So really quick, I'm just going to touch on the good and the bad. I've only got a couple for each. So obviously for the good, guys, it's going to be the defense, mainly the defense, just really doing what they need to do at the line of scrimmage. And then also, I think it's just really the line of scrimmage on both ends. You've got the defensive side of the ball on the line of scrimmage, and then also the offensive line protecting our quarterback, opening up some lanes here and there for the rushing attack, but mainly keeping Fitzpatrick clean all day long. That was absolutely huge, especially considering the movement that we did have over the week because of Austin Jackson's injury. Those were the goods, in my opinion. Now, the only bad to me, there are two negatives in this game that I do want to just briefly touch on. It's nothing that I'm going to spend a ton of time on, but two things that were standing out to me as, all right, this needs to improve. It needs to get better. Number one, the Miami defense, even though it had a phenomenal game, I was really, really impressed. A little bit earlier on in the game, guys, San Francisco was having a pretty easy time rushing the ball against us. Like I read to you earlier, Raheem Mostert, 11 carries for 90 yards at 8.2 yards per carry. And then also Jeff Wilson for 4 carries for 27 yards. That's 6.8 yards per carry. We need to shrink that down a little bit, whether that's our linebackers needing to do a little bit more coming in and controlling right behind the defensive line, or the defensive line really just trying to clog up the middle of the lanes there. So, you know, whether it's one of those two that needs to happen, I would like to see the defensive line and the linebackers work together to really kind of control that rushing attack under 5 yards. I think anywhere under 5 yards is a pretty good mark to be at, but we can't have guys going out there rushing, 8 yards per carry every time that they get the ball. That's just not going to work, especially down the road when the season is longer and guys are getting tired. So if we can shrink that down a little bit, that will definitely help us out a ton. And the only other negative that I did want to touch on is really one player. It's one player in particular, and that's Shakeem Grant. I don't really know what's happening with Shakeem Grant this season. I was expecting him, because of his contract, because he didn't do anything last year, obviously with the injuries and everything, I was expecting him to come out and really have that chip on his shoulder. He seemed like he was working super hard in the offseason to come out and really put on his max performance this year. But he really seems like he's been struggling. He did muff a punt. It went right off his face mask. He did recover, but still stuff that you don't want to see, especially from someone that we are paying a longer contract to. And then also he was running just a cross route right over the middle of the field, went straight through his hands, could have been a first down. That was kind of not a big play, but something, like I said, it's just not something that you want to see from a guy who we have extended their contract to. So, Shakeem Grant, I think that we need to figure something out with him, whether it's a different workout regimen, working on the hands. I don't know exactly what the Dolphins could do to help improve his game, but if we're going to be paying him for a handful of years, we can't have him muffing punts, dropping passes, really not making any impact on the team whatsoever. He did have one rush that went for negative 12 yards, and that's not entirely his fault. But I just want to see more out of someone like Shakeem Grant because he does have that potential. He's one of the fastest players in the league. If we can polish him up a little bit, if we can polish up the defensive line against the rushing attack, we're moving in a fantastic direction, guys. And to handle the 49ers, how we handled them today it was just so good to watch the Dolphins win a game, and not just win a game, but dominate the game from front to back. Everything in between, it was all completely dictated and controlled by the Miami Dolphins today, and it just felt so good. It felt so good as a fan of the Dolphins. It made me so happy to see them play how they did today, and hopefully hopefully we can keep that trending in the right direction for the rest of the year. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you have an awesome rest of your Sunday. If you don't, get your stuff together, man. Maybe you didn't even watch the game, but like I said, if you have not already, definitely subscribe down below. And if you liked this video, smash the like button too as well. So appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you enjoy your weekend. And as always, FinsUp.
Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami